Hi, my name is Belinda.
I'm Julian.
I'm Raki.
And I'm Cassandra.
Cassandra and I will be presenting the proposition part of this debate, and we will be critiquing the domestic violence leave through being for the idea. We'll also be looking into the pros for the employers and the employees through the new legislation. I will be presenting the pros for the employers, and Cassandra will be presenting the pros for the employees.
Belinda and I will be presenting the opposition part of this debate. We will be looking the cons for the employers and employees. Belinda will be presenting the cons for employers, and I will be presenting the cons for employees.
We hope you all enjoy this debate.
Although this is a debate, we would like to give you a brief introduction to the idea of domestic violence leave and how the Act came in place. This part of the video should provide insight on how significant the issue is in New Zealand and why we chose to form a debate over this topic. The government's Domestic Violence Victims Protection Act came into force on the 1st of April 2019. This act gives new entitlements to victims of domestic violence and puts strict obligations on their employers to ensure those entitlements are met. Domestic violence is estimated to cost the country between 4.1 and 7 billion each year. The Domestic Violence Victims Protection Act 2018 highlights the impact of domestic violence in the workplace, and it acknowledges the fact that family violence doesn't just stay at home, as it has a flow-on effect on the victim's health as well as their performance levels at work.
Domestic violence becomes more devastating when employees have to face difficulties of work and working conditions. However, with the new legislation that has been put into the New Zealand employment rights, organisations and employers are able to gain a common ground that works for both.
That's a very valid point. However, the introduction of the domestic violence leave significantly affects both the employers and the employees. For example, in a negative manner in terms of the employers, they are obliged to pay out at least 10 days of domestic violence leave to the employee.
Yes, but through that leave, the employees are able to take time off work and improve their disturbed environment. This means that employees are able to return to work with a much better state of mind. Although not widely recognized, employers are also benefiting from this.
That's very true. However, domestic violence leave will have a significant impact on the employers, especially the small and medium-sized enterprises, negatively, because they now have to put aside another set of leave payment towards their employees.
Yes, but you have to understand that domestic violence and abuse are estimated to cost over 1 billion a year in lost productivity at the workplace. There is the cost of lost time and productivity when victims of domestic violence are facing the impacts of violence. Victims often have to visit doctors, lawyers, housing agencies, counseling services, schools, and other community services that provide aid to the victim. This means that victims are taking time off work and having systematic abuse.
That may be true. However, being a small or medium-sized business, the employer may find it difficult to pay out this leave and therefore could lead to critical decisions and sacrifices. For example, budget cuts on the essential costs for the business.
Yeah, but employers have a duty to care and provide support to their employees who are victims of domestic violence and help victims survive at ease. Such actions from an employer would improve employee performance, lower absence, reduce resignation rates, and increase employee commitment. When an employer cares enough to provide support through a difficult time, employee morale improves, which can consequently become beneficial to the employers as it impacts employee productivity. In doing so, this also generates a virtuous cycle where improved productivity from the employee can be reinvested into improving training and support within organizations.
I see where you're coming from. However, another negative impact of the domestic violence leave that critically affects the employers is the stress put on to either find a temporary replacement for the time being or rescheduling their staff's hours.
That might be true, but the cost of assisting employees to deal with the impacts of domestic violence are far less than the cost involved in not doing so. The cost of dismissing or losing domestic violence victim combined with the consequent cost of recruiting and training replacement staff are much greater than the cost of providing leave and making other arrangements to support and retain the affected employee.
Good point. But as domestic violence leave is an uncontrollable circumstance, leave requested from an employee can happen very abruptly. Therefore, it can affect an employer both financially and mentally.
Thank you for your time.
You too. I very much appreciate it.
Domestic violence is an ongoing issue in New Zealand and has multiple financial burdens. Research shows that leaving an abusive relationship can be costly, as there are a number of costs that come to play when an individual does so.
Though it is beneficial, however, domestic violence leave can affect other employees working in the organization, such as less day offs, more overtimes that can lead to exhaustions that's costly in terms of their mental health.
Yes, but there are costs of relocation where the victims are often forced to find alternative housing. And there are also many cases that have arisen in the media regarding the increasing number of homeless people in New Zealand.
But employers can request medical certificates, support person, court documents, and other necessary documents, and necessary reports to provide their situation. However, the documents can be easily obtained through doctors or general practitioners, or even acquiring fraudulent documents, which is easy money for the employees.
I get where you're coming from, but access to paid leave helps to reduce the effects of violence, as it will provide a way for them to escape it quicker and support themselves financially. Therefore, the only way to achieve this could be via paid domestic violence leave.
Again, cases of employees abusing the domestic violence system due to the fact pay leave and flexible hours are provided. Employees are capable of making false claims of being abused, a guarantee that they are and it's not a guarantee that they are able to keep their jobs after giving their domestic violence leave.
Domestic violence can also impact the employee at work both mentally and physically, so there is a potential risk to health and safety.
Mental health is also applicable to other employees. Stress can often have negative effects on workers, especially with accumulated pressure, overworking that can lead to headaches, muscle pains, restlessness, anxiety, angry outbursts, and more.
But domestic leave is beneficial to employees as it allows them to get 10 days of work to sort out alternative housing. It also allows them to mentally cope and deal with what they've just been through. And by receiving the help they need via counseling or any medical aid to help them get through the trauma.
Problems can also arise, especially when employees is working under these conditions. It can affect the organization and its productivity. Thank you, you made some valid points.
You did too.
This part of the video will talk about our considered viewpoint on domestic violence leave. Considering all the pros and cons discussed in this debate, we strongly agree that domestic violence leave is very beneficial for New Zealand, as we have always taken a big hit from the impacts of domestic violence. Although the negative arguments raised in this debate are valid, it is vital to identify that domestic violence provides help to the vulnerable victims. Additionally, the positive arguments raised in this debate proves to identify this new legislation as being able to support both the employers and the employees, and consequently improving business infrastructure. Overall, we hope that this debate has given some insights into domestic violence and the new legislation around it.